I'm Vanessa.
And I'm David.
And we're making a series of videos about women and gender study for our class. We both attend NC State University. I'm majoring in zoology, and this is my 4th year.
I'm a senior in electrical engineering.
And we hope that we can bring kind of a diversity of experiences to you and kind of go into the topic of what it's like to be a woman in a STEM field. So for this video, we're going to be talking about the road to becoming a professional in the STEM careers, specifically targeted towards a women's experience. And we're going to be showing you an interview we have with Carolyn.
Yeah, she recently graduated from state and is now working in the field, and she just talks about what it was like for her in school and outside of it, being a woman in electrical engineering.
Right, so then after Carolyn's interview, we're going to compare that to an article called Never Meant to Survive, and it is an interview with Evelyn Hammonds, and the article kind of is a little old. It's from the 70s, but we hope to make some really good comparisons and contrasts to that to kind of point out some key facts to you. So I hope you enjoy our video and let us know what you think down below.
I'm Carolyn Baxter. I graduated from NC State in December in electrical engineering, and I'm currently working as an electrical engineer.
So what made you want to enter electrical engineering as a field?
Electrical engineering specifically, so my dad's an electrical engineer, and looking back on my childhood, he was like training me to be an electrical engineer. We had like little things where you can make different circuits, and you know, he kind of tried to get me into it, and so I think that really helped when it came to deciding what I wanted to do. I knew I enjoyed that.
So other than your dad, did anyone else encourage you
to do engineering? I would say probably not. I don't think. My mom was a teacher, so she was like, you should teach. So I think my dad was really the only one.
Okay. And did anyone ever discourage you from being an engineer?
Discouraging? I don't think anyone said, oh, you shouldn't do that, but I know when I started out as a freshman, I was just engineering undecided. And I remember the summer before going into college, I would tell everyone, oh, I'm doing engineering. People would be like, oh man, that's so hard. So that was a little nerve-wracking and a little discouraging, probably.
Okay. So do you ever felt like you felt more pressure as a woman in engineering than you would have if you'd been a male?
Yeah, definitely.
In like what ways?
I felt like if I got a bad grade on something, you know, it'd be like, oh, she's a girl, you know, she doesn't know it as well, kind of thing. So I definitely felt that. I mean, there's pressure, like, when I walked into my first engineering ECE class, my second semester freshman year, like, I remember walking in, and I had never been so outnumbered in my life. And it, you know, in the beginning, that was like a lot of pressure, and that was pretty kind of scary, but you know, as I went on, I figured out that it really wasn't that big of a deal, and we kind of just got used to it, I guess.
You ever felt like professors treated you differently?
I never really felt like that way about professors. I was actually pleasantly surprised because most of my professors were like middle-aged or older men, but I to be honest, I really never felt like my professors like talked down to me or thought less of me or anything like that.
What about other classmates?
Oh yeah, I mean, there was one guy I stopped studying with because, and at first I kind of thought I was just crazy that he was like just not listening to me, and then I studied with like 4 people, and when the other guys mentioned to me one day, like, yeah, that guy never listens to you when you know, say something, and I was like, thank you, like, I'm glad you think that too, and I just kind of ended up I tried to just distance myself with those kinds of people. But yeah, I definitely got talked down too.
How about now that you're out in the field working, does that happen in the workplace as well?
People seem to, take it into consideration just as much as anything else. And I'm not doing, like secretary work or anything like that. I am doing engineering work, and, there's another new hire with me, and they seem to be treating us pretty equal. So I would say right now I haven't experienced it as much. I don't know if as I work my way up and try and be, like more of a manager type person, if that would change. But
did you have many mentors who had similar backgrounds to yourself going through school?
My dad was definitely my mentor. I would call him and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this semester? Other than that, I would say I was in WISE, Women in Science and Engineering, and I had like sophomore mentor when I was a freshman, and that definitely helped. They weren't, that much more experienced and that much older than me, but it helped having someone who was there, who had just, done it and made it through, to kind of help you along the way. I would say, yeah, WISE and my dad were pretty much my mentors.
Okay. Was it encouraging at all? I know the electrical engineering advisor is Miss Townsend, being able to relate to her, was that helpful or inspiring maybe in some way?
I mean, it was definitely like, well, I can do it. She does it. She stands in front of a classroom full of mostly guys and teaches them. So, I mean, it was definitely encouraging to see that she had done that.
What kind of advice would you give to any females who are considering STEM studies, like in the future?
Do it. You might hit roadblocks. You might question yourself sometime, but you are just as qualified and absolutely capable of doing it. And don't let anyone tell you you're not.
Okay, so here we're going to compare an article, Never Meant to Survive by Amy Sands, with Carolyn's experience. Quick summary of this article. It's an interview with Evelyn Hammonds, and basically it's a go-to for what it was like for women of color in the 70s to try to pursue a bachelor's or any kind of advanced degree in the STEM fields. Like I said, she attended school in the 70s. She ended up getting a bachelor's from Georgia Tech and a master's at MIT, both in physics. In the interview, she talks mostly about how difficulties were caused for her by her gender and race. She was expecting the ones based on her race, but she was caught off guard by the difficulties surrounding her gender.
So we wanted to compare Carolyn's experience with this article, and some of the contrasts that we've noticed are that there was less expectation of failure from peers in Carolyn's experience, so they were a little bit more accepting of her and her accomplishments and didn't really put her down as much, whereas in the article or the interview that we read, it was more as though they expected a lot less of her just because solely of her gender. Another contrast that we noticed is that Carolyn had a significantly better background preparing her for college. In high school, she got to take more math and science courses, and that's mainly because of the time period at the time. Schools are not segregated now, so everybody kind of gets the same exact education prior to college, even if it's not the same exact courses. So some similarities with Carolyn's experience. Both participated in programs that gave very encouraging mentorship. So Carolyn mentioned WISE, which is Women in Science and Engineering, which is a program here at NC State for women in science and engineering. And they do lots of different activities, and they have mentorships and all these kinds of things to get women involved in STEM fields and to kind of support them through their college and further academic accomplishments and goals. Both of them were very encouraged by their fathers to participate in science into early age, which is kind of in the 70s at least, maybe a little bit less heard of or a little more uncommon. So that was a nice kind of similarity that they had with each other. Some still some fear about being less good at studies due to gender, and there's still many more men and women than in STEM fields.
So it's been about 40 years since since when Hammonds was in school and when Carolyn studied for her bachelor's degree. The key things that we noticed have changed is, one, I mean, public schools just in general teach more advanced courses that help prepare people for college. And while the stigma for women or men being better or worse at things may still exist, it appears to be the exception as opposed to the rule. And I mean, there's a lot more representation. I mean, Carolyn even had a female advisor. Even if she wasn't particularly close with her, they were, she still saw Miss Townsend and was like, oh, I could maybe, she's a woman in STEM fields, I can be too. As far as things that haven't changed, there still isn't much encouragement from the staff of the university as far as professors, although a large reason of this may not be based because Carolyn is, a female, but it might be because nowadays more professors are tenured for research, and that's kind of all they care about, and the classes come second to that sort of thing. And as shown with both their fathers, outside encouragement by someone who means something to the person is definitely going to encourage them to keep studying something they care about.
So for our next video, we're going to kind of dive into the idea of gender stereotypes, and we're going to be kind of randomly interviewing people that we pass by and kind of gauge their reactions and kind of see what stereotypes that people typically hold within themselves, particularly about scientists and mathematics and any kind of STEM-related field. So if you have any interest in this, or if you want to tell us your gender stereotypes or anything that you've noticed in your studies, you can leave us a comment here on YouTube, or you can send us a message via Tumblr. We will read your suggestions, and they might even be in our next video. So we'll see you next time.